Helen Hardin's paintings merge past and present in a new way, transforming Native painting.
As kids, we used to play this game with magazines where we would go through the pages real quickly and say, I'm her, I'm Helen, I'm Helen. No, I already said I'm Helen. You can't be Helen. You have to be somebody else. I only want to be Helen. She did have that sort of rock star-ish, pop culture edge to her. I think that became a tool to make her art even more accessible because people were drawn to her because of her personality. And then it's like, oh, what? You're this profound artist too?
If Pablita Velarde was the godmother of Native American art, her daughter, Helen Hardin, was Albuquerque's first rock star painter. Hardin was part of a generation of groundbreaking Native artists who would transform Native American painting. The chic photo of her on the cover of the March-April 1970 issue of New Mexico magazine helped seal her pop culture status.
She was able to kind of live in that glamorous art world. But then she could put on her moccasins and go walk up to Puya Cliffs and never skip a beat. She was really a contemporary American girl who was also American Indian.
But her success came about while facing tremendous struggles. Tsetsawiya, Helen's Tiwa name, means little standing spruce, lived in the shadow of her famous mother, Pablita Velarde.
I think they were a lot alike. They both had this tunnel vision as far as what they wanted to do and how to get there. Helen was just as determined as her mother.
Ambivalent about painting initially, when Hardin entered UNM in 1961, she saw a future. Art history and anthropology classes deepened her interest in Native American symbols. By the early 70s, Hardin was moving away from a representational style to create petroglyph-inspired imagery and add more complex abstractions in her work. In 1974, she produced what is considered one of her first masterpieces, Prayers of Blue Corn Mother. Daughter Margaret said, "I call it her departure painting because it was sort of when she stopped painting things that were earthly and started painting things that were heavenly. She sort of went up into her spirit world from there."
She seemed to have really hit this place of a knowing, an internal knowing. Her figures changed. They took on more spiritual elements. So it was sort of as she stepped into maybe a more spiritually knowing place in herself, all of this started to bloom.
At the height of her career in 1981, she created two of her most celebrated works, Changing Woman and Medicine Woman. They were the first of what would become her women's series and embody the height of her artistic, intellectual, and spiritual awareness.
You can just stand in front of one of these paintings and it sort of feels like this would be a vehicle to teletransport to some incredible spiritual dimension.
Then Hardin learned that she had breast cancer. She began undergoing treatment, but kept painting. Listening Woman completed her women's series. She passed away in 1984. In a 1976 documentary, Hardin told viewers, "Art is immortal. I can think of growing old and passing on, and I think the reason is because I know I'll always be here through my paintings." Daughter Margaret believes this knowledge liberated her, saying, "Facing her own mortality gave my mother the freedom to paint whatever she wanted, which came from her soul. That's where the masterpieces came from."